This ridiculous piece of work is what I had as a coolant overflow bottle, and that's junk. And yeah, that's a CRT tube. You never see those anymore. I'm trying to fix my stereo. What do you mean stereo? I know, this thing's ancient. It's all solid state, and it's ridiculous to be thought of as a computer anyway. But anyway, it streams wireless audio from my home media server, and allows me to listen to music out here hooked up through that receiver. And that keeps me sane and prevents me from throwing tools. It's amazing that this thing can run both Tiger 10.4 Mac OS X and Windows 98 with Mitsubishi caps, so I can look up part numbers. I know my VIN number by now, so don't ask me to look up any parts though until this is sorted out. That'll just make me mad. This is what I actually did. I added some volume. You see, this is a 24-ounce can. This one was 18, I think. Yep, 18-ounce can. So I gained about 6 ounces of fluid and added a few horsepower with that. So here's what the finished product looks like. There we go. So yeah, improvised coolant overflow bottle. The factory coolant overflow bottle used to sit here, and you can see now I've cut a hole. Let me grab that. I've cut a hole through the front radiator support to make room for that intercooler pipe, and that pipe's just right in the way of it. So I used to have the coolant overflow bottle zip tied here, but one day at the track it just disappeared. I don't know where it went. I still have the sensor that's zip tied inside the fender well, but that coolant overflow bottle is never to be seen again. So this was the solution I came up with. It's the only place I seem to be able to fit it, that if it overflowed it wouldn't leak on electronics or anything like that. So I wanted to make sure that it was in a safe place in the occasion that it needs to work properly and vent out of that tube. So that's something to think about on your setup. And you can see the cap is really the factory cap, but it's epoxied onto the lid so that it's airtight. If I pulled the hoses off and blew in this, nothing would leak out of it if I plugged it up on that end with my finger and blew in that side. So the bottle has to be airtight. The end result is, I've driven this car a few times now, heated it up real good, and with a new cap on it, you see the coolant's right there in the top. So it's pulling coolant back in as it cools down. That's so good. I'll show you the inside of the cap. Yeah, I know, the steel braid's a little ridiculous, but it's cool. Alright. You see on the other side I kept the gasket, and there's a hole in it. I've cut a hole in the gasket, I've cut a hole in the lid. I'm going to see if I can pull this gasket out and show you what's inside of that. Work with me. So I just used a step drill. You can see there's a little hole cut out up on the side. That's the hole that goes to that vent. You need to have that breathing. The lid needs to be airtight. You can see there's a ring on the inside of the lid that seals up against that. And if you look at the gasket, you can see the crease from it. This actually is a great fit. When this is crammed up in there, the hole's big enough that air can get around it. And that still breathes. So I ended up with an airtight can. Yay! Now the other cool part about this is the bracket. I just took a piece of steel here and bent it in the shape of a cross, or cut it out in the shape of a cross, bent two arms to hold on to the sides of the can, drilled a hole in the top, which I put underneath the grommet for the radiator bracket. That little pin right there, it slips over the top of that. And down at the bottom, zip tied the bottom end. And she's sturdy, so that's not going anywhere. And this is well secured and I can remove it. So anyway, we'll see how this does. I got some new tricks up my sleeve for you this weekend, and this seems to have worked out all of my issues. Yay.